Everyone, Voodoo here, and today we are going to be going over the embellishments and trinkets for Havoc Demon Hunter that are looking really good right now on the PTR. We're also going to touch a little bit on the embellishments for Vengeance, but pretty briefly. Most of the work here is going to be for Havoc, but I know what Vengeance has done, so I'll talk about that briefly. Before we get into that, make sure you like the video, comment, and subscribe. Channel has been growing really well lately, so push that like button, spread the video around, hit the sub button, help me grow. Thank you all so much. So we'll start with trinkets kind of on the PTR here, and then we'll jump over to some sims that I've done. You can find those sims pinned. Well, they're not pinned right now as the time I'm recording this, but they will be updated, pinned in the Havoc Demon Hunter Discord if you guys want there. Of course, they'll also be found down below. So, trinkets. Right now, there are kind of two sets of trinkets that are looking really good. For raid, no matter which build you're using, whether you're using this glaive build here, or you're using the Cycle SD build here. And personally, I think that glaive build is going to be, well, not glaive, but Cog Disposition, AFI, will be played more often on most fights, but you know, both fights use basically the same trinkets. These ones are using the Augury of the Primal Flame, which is a very rare trinket, which does suck, and it also drops off Farak, which also sucks. But this trinket is one of our best ones, so it's an on-equip crit trinket, which is like fine. You want like agility on your trinkets for the most part, but crit's like our best secondary still, so hey. Anyways, it is a proc that basically makes your spells and abilities have a low chance to grant this buff that causes your critical strikes to deal 50% additional damage as fire split, and then there's like a cap on it, and then the damage and the cap increase per enemy you hit up to 5. So this is a really good trinket in both single target and AoE, Mythic Plus, which we'll get to after I go over the raid stuff. The trinket's really good. We can go over some sims in a bit where I'll touch on like where this looks like and stuff, but this is very strong because we can fly over to a dummy while I talk about this and show you guys. But this is really good. You're going to want this for like everything. And the other one for single target is going to be Cataclysmic Signet Brand. So this drops off of Smolderon, the third last boss. It's an Adi equip, which is great. And it's an on-equip where your spells and abilities have a chance to basically deal damage to the target over 6 seconds and grants you a stack of Fire Starter, which increases the damage dealt up to 15. And then whenever you're at 5 stacks or above, you also take half the damage. And at 15 stacks, you also deal 10% of that damage dealt to all enemies nearby, splitting between them. I believe that might hit the single target. I'm not sure on that, but like whatever. And then it decays at a combat. So if we just hit like a dummy, it doesn't stack up too quickly, but it does stack up over time. And then the crit one is also really good as well. So if I'm just going in here, we're fellow rushing, we're hunting, we're eye beaming, we're doing a bit of our usual rotation here, trying to get some buff, some procs. We go, and here's the trinket proc. That's one of them, Signet Brand, and now I have a stack of Fire Starter, and we'll see if we can get one of the Farak procs as I'm here. But anyways, yeah, so these two trinkets are the best ones we have. They're going to end up doing a lot of your damage over the course of like a 5-minute fight or so. Hopefully we can actually get a crit proc here, but if not, we'll give up. Oh, we got another trinket proc here, so the brands are doing more damage. Now, off the rip, they're not going to do a ton, like at all, and that's just kind of what the dealio is going to be like. But over time, these trinkets do actually add up for a lot of things. Now, I'm actually getting like exceedingly unlucky on the dragon trinket. It is not proccing for me, unfortunately. That's like the one downside for this trinket, is that it can be a little unreliable when it procs. But again, for the most part, it's pretty good. So it's been about a minute. I haven't actually gotten a proc, which is unfortunate. Oh, there we go. We actually just got one. So see here, I actually am like burning a little bit with fire, and I had a little buff up there that ended up like duplicating my crits. And one proc did pretty good, even alone. Now this effect can also crit, which is kind of funny. And then Signet Brand is not doing a lot right now because we're at low stack counts, but it's still pretty good overall. You can see here it's kind of dropping. I don't think you'll actually play this for AoE or Mythic Plus, I guess, because the stacks kind of decay too fast, and even then you take a lot of damage from it. But, you know, really good for single target. For AoE, though, you're going to keep Augury, and I think there's actually 2 choices right now. Ignore all these random junks I have. So I think the 2 choices right now are going to be Ashes of the Ember Soul, which is an on-use 2 minutes, gives you some haste. You use it, you get like 4,000 agility, 5. You get a large chunk of primary stat for 20 seconds, which slowly like loses over 3 seconds. And then whenever it ends, you lose the same amount of haste you get from the equip. So it says 659 in the tooltip. I just pointed out on my screen. You guys can't see that, but says 659 tooltip on equip, and then you lose 659 whenever you use the effect. And then whenever circumstances are dire, which I don't really know what that means. It was bugged for a while, where like tank pulling threat or something would just trigger the trinket. So I'm not really sure what situations are dire really means, but it procs reliably often, especially in AoE. And then whenever it does that little proc once per combat, you don't decay it, you just get the stat. The other good one is going to be Pip's Emerald Friendship Badge. So this is an on-equip, gives you agility, which is great. You join the Dream Team, and you gain 253 of either Mastery, Versatility, or Crit. And then your skills and abilities kind of cycle you through that. So whenever you cycle to a new stat, you get a large amount of it, like 3,000, which then decays over like 12 seconds. And then returns back down to like the 253. So this is pretty good. Mastery, Crit, and Verse are all stats we really want in AoE. Realistically, right now, I think Pips is probably better. Ashes is like more burst, but the haste is pretty like meaningless for us, right? Like a lot of agility with our 2-minute trinket, 2 minute, but we're doing a lot of consistent damage, 40 seconds, minute and a half, 30 seconds, depending on what build you're playing. And Pips is like really, really good. So I can see either of these being played for Mythic Plus, but probably Pips. But again, both good. In terms of Mythic Plus trinkets you want, because you notice these are all from Raid. Ashes of the Ember Soul drops from Smolderon, and then Pips drops from Council of Dreams, which is the Duck Boss. In terms of trinkets from Mythic Plus, there's not a ton of great ones. Mirror is fine. This one's from Season 2, but like Mirror's fine. Not very good anymore because we're a 2-minute class now, not a 3-minute class. But it's okay, right? Just it's a lot of stats on that minute cycle or whatever. It's just like desynced, so you got to figure out how to sync stuff. This Witherbark Branch is pretty good too. I guess I can equip it and show you guys. The issue with Witherbark Branch is that it's kind of delayed when you use it. Basically, it's an on use, gives you agility, which is nice. And then whenever you use it, you draw stuff in and you get mastery, a lot of mastery for 10 seconds up to 3 times. And there are 3 of those globes, so you get roughly 3 times the value on the tooltip. The issue though is just how delayed it is. This is from, I think, the Everbloom dungeon. Mirror Fracture Tomorrows, of course, is from the Mega Dungeon, the second half. The only other good trinket from M+, I think, is Porcelain Crab. Porcelain Crab doesn't even seem that amazing. This isn't great for us. Like, it's fine. It's a nice mastery buff. This, I think, is from Throne of the Tides. It's a pretty new trinket. So basically, your melee attacks have a chance to shed a limb, granting 1,600 mastery and like 500 avoidance for 20 seconds. Don't think it's that amazing of a trinket, just like in general. But again, it's probably one of the better ones to pick up from Mythic Plus if you're not really going to be raiding. But there's not really a lot of great options from Mythic Plus. Nightmare Eggshell just isn't very good because it's haste. Fight Counterweight is just like a single target thing and has a really low proc rate. Midas Talent just sucks. Like, it's really bad. This is just haste, which isn't very good for us. These are tank trinkets. This is a tank trinket. So a lot of the trinkets just don't line up well with what we want to do in Mythic Plus for this season. We don't really want that much haste in AoE or single target unless you're playing Cycle, and even then it's not very good. And then this is just bad. This is just bad. There was a trinket for a bit, the Caged Horror, that was like crazy. I don't know if it's still crazy, but it like just shot out a big line. Here's the Witherbark Branch. So you pull in these orbs. They do kind of suck to get. And you can see I can get them. Now it's gonna be like 5,000 mastery. So that's a pretty sizable increase, which is nice. But yeah, so those are kind of the looks at the trinkets. Nothing too crazy. Caged Horror might be good. Low proc chance whenever it procs. It's a range trinket. So it just kind of does a massive like blast of shadow damage. I think it was bugged and hitting for way more than it should be. I think that's been fixed, but this is like fine too. This is probably like one of the better ones if you can get someone to trade it to you. But again, it's not very good, right? You just want to use raid trinkets, which sucks, but hey, is what it is. So that's it for trinkets. We're gonna hop over to some sims now and take a look at embellishments. All right, so here we are with some sims. Now, ignore a few things here. I ignore a lot of the kind of gear combinations. A lot of it was just me having to like put different items in to see like which slots. So this is a D-Slice sim with Essence Break, which is the best D-Slice simming one. Again, you can use GT and Fell Barrage. The result will not change for what embellishments to use. So currently on live, we are using Toxic Thorn Foot Wraps and the Toxified Armor Patch in one of the slots. Now, next tier, things are going to change a bit with crafting, just in terms of eye level. Max eye level is going to be 489, and now you're going to have 486 crafted gear, which is the equivalent of if crafted gear right now would go up to 444. The things are a little bit different there, but I think for the most part, crafted gear is still going to be very powerful. Lots of scenarios where you still probably will want some crafted gear if there's a piece of gear that just doesn't come with great itemization for you, everything like that. So good stuff there. So let's get into it. So again, D-Slice, here we are. This is the D-Slice build. So the thing on top is going to be 2 blue silken lining. And blue silken lining is a pretty good embellishment for AoE. Pretty much what it is while you're above 90% health, you get a large chunk of mastery. So we have it on the bindings and on the rings here. Slot doesn't really matter. Ring's a really good spot for it because you just randomly get more stats out of the ring than you do from other locations. It just gives you more free stats. Current gear down here is roughly 1.5% behind the ring, which is just... it actually is just a little different setup. I think it's Toxic Thorn and the patch. So that is 1.5%. So right now in D-Slice, you know that 2 blue silken lining is probably going to be your best bet. Ignore the trinket, it's the wrong one. It doesn't really matter. This will get even better in like less single target, more AoE stuff. So I do think if you're looking for damage, blue silken lining is for sure the way to go. However, if we scroll down a bit, we can look down. 0.6% behind is Spore Cloak. Now, Spore Cloak was changed to be less of a defensive monster and more of a bit of a DPS option. So the shield was nerfed from like 300 some thousand at 447 to now it's only 207,000 at 486. I think the duration was changed too, but I'm not very sure. Anyways, so this one, while above 70% health, you gain roughly 500 verse and heal for 20,000 HP every 5 seconds. And then when you drop below 30%, you get a big shield. Now, this is a very valuable tool for helping you live on higher keys. Some DPS were running it just as like an embellishment last season instead of a DPS thing, just to let them live. Mages, I think maybe everybody ran it at high eye level, high keystone level, but mages and Shadowpiece ran it for sure. It's a very, very big HPS increase, and now it gives you verse, so it's a little solid DPS increase as well. So I think in the most part, if this is close at all, you'll probably end up wanting to play it. Here, 0.6% behind, probably want to play it. The other close one, if you don't think you can get blue silken lining, which is above 90% HP, is Flaring Cowl. Now I will say for dungeons, you're going to have really high uptime of blue silken lining. I think in dungeons it's at like 80% for the most part, and you'll have a lot of that on pull, which is when a lot of damage happens. So BSL in dungeons is really, really good. These sims are with 70%, so you'll probably have higher uptime than the sims show, which I do think, will make it better. So I really think it's going to be between 2 blue silken lining or 1 blue silken lining and a Spore Cloak. If you're pushing keys at all, I would take the Spore Cloak and the BSL. But if you're not pushing keys, you can probably just do double BSL, which is pretty good. Of note, Flaring Cowl is going to be very good for Vengeance. Flaring Cowl and Slimy Boots, I believe, are their current best options. So there you go. Good if you're trying to multi-spec there. Now, if we move away from AoE and get more so into our single target, we'll look first at Cycle. So Cycle is this build here. We've already looked at it, and it too does have blue silken lining ×2 on the belt and the ring, simming ahead. Now it's only 0.2% ahead, and that is versus, if I go all the way down through all these different combinations, that is versus the current gear, which is Toxic Thorn Foot Wraps and a patch. So 0.2% is really not that big of a deal. And this is with 70% uptime, which I think is a bit higher than we might get in Raid. It's hard to say. So back in Vault, when we did this, we got 50 to 60%. Now, I think with the defensiveness we've gained and the ability to pair it with Spore Cloak, probably closer to 60, 65, 70%, somewhere in that ballpark. Probably won't be too hard to hit. We'll have to see testing and stuff. But Havoc's very tanky. So I do think we can get pretty good uptime on this stuff. But if we can't, scroll down a bit here. Spore Cloak and Blue Silken Lining is 0.2% ahead of Thorns and Patch, and 0.1% behind double BSL. So I do think we'll probably just play Spore Cloak and Signet of Titanic Insight in like most scenarios. Now, if you want Spore Cloak and Boots, you do have to go a little bit further down. There should be one here somewhere. Or maybe not. Okay, well, there was one before. Can't find it now, but whatever. So, Spore Cloak, very, very good. And BSL. So I do think in the end BSL and Spore Cloak will win out because of the tankiness you get from it, as well as the ability to kind of do that AoE damage cleave. If it turns out that we can't actually get very high uptime of Blue Silken Lining, then I do think Toxic Thorn Foot Wraps and either Spore Cloak or the other Toxic Patch would be very good, especially for single target. But I do think if we can get valuable BSL uptime because of the cleave it provides, we're going to be very good, especially with Underling Spore Cloak. Now, the story is even better for our AFI CD build, where if I can just scroll down here, we're about 0.3% ahead of Thorn Foot Wraps with Decay, with double Blue Silken Lining, and then Blue Silken Lining and a Spore Cloak is like 0.1% behind that. So double Blue Silken Lining is 0.3% up for this build here, which makes sense. It wants more mastery, and Spore Cloak's only like 0.1% behind that. So I do think overall probably run Spore Cloak and Blue Silken Lining. If we can't get good Blue Silken Lining uptime, then probably Toxic Thorn and Toxic Patch, or Toxic Thorn and Spore Cloak. So that's kind of what it's looking like right now. I myself will probably craft like Spore Cloak first. I don't know, I guess we'll see. But it will help with early prog, especially with the plus 39 eye level. But again, all this stuff very early. Things can change, so we'll see where we're at. So that is going to be it for today. Bit of a longer video, bit of a talky video, but I wanted to kind of work through everything and kind of explain what's going on with everything. Again, very early sims, things probably can and will end up changing. When they do change, if they do change, again, I'll update you guys. I will have all this stuff covered succinctly in the Havoc Guide video when I put that out. So of course, subscribe if you want that. My plan is to have that out around November 6th. So keep your eyes out for that. But that's kind of where we're at right now for Trinkets and Embellishments for Havoc, and a little bit of Vengeance on the PTR. So let me know what you think, what you'll probably be using. Again, I think that Spore Cloak and Blue Silken Lining is probably our best bet for most scenarios. It helps too because you can use it in both. 2 Blue Silken Lining is technically ahead in dungeons, but again, Spore Cloak at 0.6% is a pretty nice deal in my opinion for the survivability it gives you. And honestly, Toxic Thorn, it's like a minus stamina thing. It heals you sometimes. It's just a single target proc. I don't really see it being anywhere near as worth it as before, but we'll see. Sims and Blue Silken Lining uptime are weird, but we'll have to see where that ends up. Anyways, that is going to be it today. So like the video, comment, all that stuff. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for subscribing. See you guys next time. Follow me on Twitch, follow me on Discord, become a channel member if you want to support me. And yeah, so have a good weekend. Peace. A big thank you to all my channel members. Thank you to Andrew Keenel, Payne, Latand, Period, Brad Wisniak, Zuligan, Oxclamation, It's Bulk, and Howley. Thank you all of those people. You guys are great and appreciate the support you're giving me. If you want to support the channel and get a few cool perks in the meantime, click the link in the description. Brings you to a place where you can learn more about becoming a channel member. Thank you all so much. Thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.